All right, everybody, we are live. Welcome. Hello to everybody that has joined us already. I see the comments. Oh, look, we got a couple of Canadians in here as well. So I'm not the only one. Hey, how's it going, eh? Good to see all of you. So listen, Josh, if you're going to pull out the Boston accent, I'll start pulling out the Canadian accent. So I'll do the quick welcome and then we'll jump right into this. Welcome to the Echo Means Business new pro networking series. Echo Means Business is going to be launching a lot of new features in 2021, including a pro rewards loyalty program. For those of you that don't know yet, we're going to be launching pro workshops, pro resources section. And tonight, we're officially launching our pro networking series, which is going to be an ongoing series of these types of sessions, networking sessions, featuring industry pros connecting and sharing stories, tips, and strategies. We'll be doing them regionally, so you'll be able to connect with other pros in your area only. We'll be doing some Spanish ones. We'll be doing some just on tools, some on business strategy. It's going to be a really cool series that we're going to be running throughout the entire year. We're kicking off the networking series now with a 4-part series featuring our Echo User Advisory Group members, which is a volunteer group of industry pros who provide user feedback to Echo's marketing team and product engineers, and they lead the mentorship and content here on Echo Means Business. We're calling this series Spring into 2021, and we're breaking it down into 4 videos, 4 networking sessions that are designed to give you some ideas of how to get your 2021 off right. So tonight, we're talking getting your back end straight. A lot of people have already been making fun of the name. That's cool. We try and keep this interesting wherever possible. And it's basically critical business functions and processes established that you need to establish to make sure you've got year-long success. So it's how do you get out your back end of your business straight? Next week, we're going to be talking about marketing. The week after that, knowing your worth, which is establishing your hourly rate, determining your profit margins, understanding your actual costs. And then in our 4th week, we're going to be talking about recruiting for success. How to advertise and find good support staff, mentor them, train them, and keep them. So let's get going. My name is Sam Fiorella. I'm the director of Echo Means Business, and I'll be acting as your moderator tonight. On our pros tonight are Randy Dullen from Dullen Cut and Trim, excuse me. JC, the lawn care guy for Lawn Squad Mowing. Josh Curavan from Curavan Green Company. And last but not least, Tino Cardoso from AJ's Lawn Care. These are all experienced lawn care pros, each at different stages of their professional career. So we should have a really good mix of strategies. So I am going to pick on Josh. Why don't we start with you? And why don't you give us your tip for back-end processes and functions that every green industry business needs to be focusing on right now to ensure that they've got a strong and steady success over 2021?
Well, I guess my tips to everyone would be kind of on the admin side of things, where make sure you have all your insurances in a row. Now's the time to be shopping for your general liability policy, your commercial plates. Shop these policies to see if you can get the best deal, the best bang for your buck. I don't know how many guys have gone without insurances to start off, and something as small as cracking a window with a weed eater, or compacting a stone base too close to a foundation can devastate your business. So make sure that you have your insurances set up. Now's the time to get going. A lot of us are going to start up around April, March. So make sure you have that locked up. Knowing a baseline of pricing is imperative for your business. Now, I know a lot of guys that start out in the grain industry and even in the hardscape industry, they tend to think that I don't have overhead, so I don't need to have a set base price. That couldn't be further from the truth. For you guys that are just starting out, I would advise you to have a goal of where you want to be in 3 to 5 years and set that price now or close to it now. It's easier to gradually grow than it is to go from hey, I charge $25 an hour now, but now I realize I got to charge 85. So start setting those things out and doing things like pricing out insurance, pricing out equipment. It'll help lead you to that dollar value you need for your business to grow and succeed.
What do you guys, do you agree with that? I think you're on mute, Tino. We're going to do this again with Tino.
Great advice, guys. No, that's a really good advice, especially as far as getting your insurance and stuff, all that tags and whatnot. It's very important to be out there on the street, legal, and being as professional as you can be as far as having insurance and kind of setting yourself apart from every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there with the mower in the back of their truck. You know, so very good advice.
Josh, I've heard a lot of guys in this industry, guys and women in this industry, talking about setting that plan, that 3 to 5 year plan. And certainly when you're starting your business, it's good to know, build a roadmap so that you're not just winging it. You're not just saying yes to every project. You're taking on the projects that you know are going to lead you to where you want to go. But what happens in year 2, year 3, year 5? Are you constantly taking that at this time of the year? Are you reevaluating what that 3 to 5 year plan is, and you're like moving it out? You know what I mean? Or are you just working that 5 year plan or 3 year plan until you're done and then reset it then?
No, definitely. Every year, you have your long-term goal, but every year you're going to adapt and adjust based off everything, based off the economy, look what just happened with COVID. Some guys were hitting home runs. A lot of guys were chasing their tails. Every year around this time, what we're doing right now is we're going through the back end of things and figuring out exactly what we need to be, where we spent too much money, were we paying out too much overtime for billable hours that we had, what was the overtime we were paying out for those billable hours. We constantly, every year, I don't want to say that we shop our insurance, but we update our insurance. So when you come into the green industry or the hardscape industry, you're typically going to get a general liability policy. Most guys are going to go for a $500 to $800 policy, and that varies depending on where you are in the country. But as you grow and you start doing drainage, you start doing plantings, you start doing patios, a lot of the insurance is going to have to change. You're going to have to grow with that. GL policies aren't going to cover deep excavation. They're not going to cover a lot of subcontractors. That's when you have to, depending on where your state is, you have to look into workman's comp. So you constantly have to be reevaluating your business. You can't look at year 1 and go, okay, I'm good here. And then year 4, stay with the same plan. You can have your long-term goals like, this is where I want to be. This is where I want my growth. But each year you have to pay attention. Your P&L reports, your cash flow reports, you have to make sure everything's working in sync with one another.
So I want to play up on that a little bit. Randy, you're managing over 100 properties. At least you were at the end of last year. I don't know, I know you haven't started really the season yet this year. That's a daunting task when it comes to all the things that, Josh is talking about right now, setting up not only all of your, policies and your accounting. Do you get professional help to do that sort of thing? Like, what do you have to do with your accountant or a bookkeeper or your insurance agent at this time of the year?
So for what I do is I try and automate things as much as I absolutely can. I actually try and make sure I have software in place that'll cover things for me, so that I can focus on work as much as possible and let the software handle everything on the back end. So like for me, nothing is done on pen and paper. Everything is done online. I know for me, I needed to find the most expensive management software I could find that would just allow me to automate everything. So like for me, I use Service Autopilot. And so like now this time of year, what I've actually just finished doing today was sending out all the contract renewals. And a part of that was because I have a really high-end software solution that I'm using, I'm able to go into a customer's profile, see how long we're on a customer's property, so I can look and see, okay, this is a $35 an hour or $35 per cut customer. They really should be a $40 per cut. Or some customers, we actually lowered the price on 5 or 6 people because for the amount of time we were there, we couldn't justify what we were charging them. Or I mean, I could, but I decided not to. You know? And so that's what we've been, and when I say we, I mean me, but that's what I've been really focusing on is going in, looking at the numbers, seeing what needs to change and what can stay the same or what needs to just be cut loose. I actually, after looking at the metrics, I actually contacted 6 or 7 customers and said, look, we're not renewing this year just because where you are, the amount of money I'd have to charge you to keep cutting your grass is just absurd. I'm not going to charge $60 for a townhouse,
Yeah, we got a lot of
so that's what I've been working on.
Let's talk about software, but I also want to go back. So just Randy, remind me, I want to talk about software and at what point, or maybe JC, you might want to answer this when we get to it. At what point do we have, do you say, okay, I can't do this manually anymore. I need to upgrade? Because a lot of guys starting off with 50 lawns maybe can't afford certain software. What's the right software or no software? Because I know you started manually for, when you got into this business, JC. So I want to circle back to that, but I want to keep talking about insurance a little bit because there's been some questions in the chat here that I think is important. One question, I don't know if you guys want to share any of this, but one question is, what are you guys paying? I'm $280 a month. What are guys paying out there? That's dependent on the size of your business and equipment, no?
I don't mind answering. I use Hiscox Insurance, and for them, I think it ends up being $500 a year. I'm probably the cheap guy that Josh was talking about earlier, but because I'm literally mowing and that's it. If you look at my P&L, lawn mowing accounts for about 95% of what I do, and the other 5% is just the random mulch job that I do, and so that $500 a month policy with Hiscox, it's the $2 million limit, and it's also, but it's easy. I've done probably 4 or 5 claims over the past 5 years, and they never fight you. Half the time they don't even ask you for proof; they just take your word for it and cut a check.
All right. Anybody, is that similar to what others are doing, paying? Tino, are you going without insurance, or you got insurance?
No, yeah, I use Hiscox also. I just recently started seeing a lot of people were saying that they've gotten away from Hiscox because they'll only cover you while you're on a job site. They won't cover your equipment. Like if you're parked at home and somebody steals your stuff, they won't cover that. I don't know if that's a fact. I haven't really got into it, but I do need to research that before I get into this year. But yeah, same thing. They really, luckily I haven't had to file a claim or anything, knock on wood. As long as I've probably been using it for about 3 years now. But as far as their rates, not raising rates or anything like that, they're really good. I pay like $38 a month. And so it's super cheap, and just getting your foot in the door, it's something I would recommend. But yeah, definitely look into that if your equipment and stuff is covered while you're at home.
I can chime in there on my end. So back to what Randy said is just because I didn't mean that like the cheaper guys with that. What Randy does, the aspect of his work is perfect for what you should be paying. So we pay roughly around $4,800 a year for our insurance policy. This is for our general liability policy. My snow plowing endorsement runs me about $9,500. My workman's comp will vary. Now, someone in the comments asked about an audit. In Mass, the companies don't have to audit your general liability or your business owner's policy. Your agent should be doing that to make sure you're getting the best bang for your buck. At the same time, the poop and scooping guy here made a comment about feeling guilty. First of all, someone mentioned too, don't feel guilty. Business is business. You're going to get the best bang for your buck. Your insurance agent should be doing due diligence and shopping that for you. Just because the other guy's cheaper though, it's apples to apples. You want to make sure you're getting either the same or something better. What are the other comments here? Sorry. Oh, the audit. So for Nicole on the audit, so in Massachusetts, we don't get our GL policies audited. We're audited every year on workman's comp, and that's based off the amount of hours we paid out. So you sign up for your work in Massachusetts, and this might vary state to state. You put in an estimated total hours that you think you're going to pay out. It's not per person. So you might say, I'm going to pay out $100,000 in payroll. At the end of the year, we just completed ours. You send in all your 941s from the quarters prior, and they kind of give you a ballpark of what you're going to be paying. And you may be over, you may be under. So, we came back, I think this year at $7,400 for the workman's comp policy. Depending on how that goes, we might be under next year. We might be over. It all depends on what we have to pay out. These are all things that when I say shop them, you don't have to get them, but shop them so you know the cost going forward 5 years from now. I know it sounds like it's far-fetched, but if you know that you're going to pay out 15 grand a year for an insurance policy completely, you kind of have an idea of what your base number has to be to run your company.
I saw somebody with a comment, nationwide is high. I'm finding out. You know what? It's possible that there's definitely different rates that different companies will have, and others will give you a better deal. But don't base your decisions based on what other people are paying or what you even see as an advertised price, because a lot of times you don't know what kind of liability they have, the size of their liability, what the disclaimers are in it. Are they including their trucks? Are they including their home and their house? Sometimes you get a bundled rate. Where your business will pay a little bit less if you've also thrown on your boat or your house or whatever else you might have that's under insurance with that company or with that broker. So obviously it's, you really got to drill down and take a look at those things. This might be worthwhile, guys. We should probably look at doing some content around that. I know, Angel, you're listening to it, but break down insurance. We might even get one of our insurance guys to come on and just do it like an AMA, Ask Me Anything. So we'll probably look to do that. Let's move on. I want to go back to the question of that inspired me, Randy's point on saying goodbye to some customers at the beginning of a year before you even start. I know that's something that we do with our business. Is we will always look at, is this customer worth it for us? We might be doing a good job, but we're not making money and they're driving us crazy. So why? Just for the sake of gross revenue, it's better to walk away from that. So Randy, when you and I did our Meet the Pro interview, you were talking about that. So what do you do at the start of a season, and what tips can you give everybody here? Is it, do you audit the previous year's accounts to say which ones am I making money on, which ones didn't I make money on, and then make decisions this year for that?
No, usually what happens is halfway through last year, I'm sick and tired of mowing somebody's yard, but I don't have the guts to let them loose. So, no, but generally speaking, what I'm able to print out a report that lets me know how much I made on a property and, like how long it took and stuff like that. And so I'm able to review that. And then for some customers, like for folks that have been with me from the beginning, I'm a lot more forgiving. I had a customer that I cut their grass for $25 a cut, which I would never, ever, ever do for anyone else. And so I don't make any money on that lawn, but I had them since the beginning, so we'll do it. But generally speaking, I keep a tally of folks that I know either the rate needs to be raised, or they just need to go. And I make a note of it because I never raise rates on somebody in the middle of a season. I know people do. I feel weird doing that. And so then once the winter time comes, I go into Service Autopilot and I tag everybody that I know we need to figure something out with. And then as it gets closer to renewal time, which is now for me, that's where it either goes up or they get cut loose. In this situation, it actually was an entire city that I just let go. There's a city north of me that, just the money was fine, but, every time I went in the backyard, I wasn't sure my equipment was still going to be on the truck when I came back, and it just wasn't worth it to me anymore. And, it's fun. It's actually kind of funny because, you say that we say it's not personal, it's business, but, it is personal because I mean, this is how we're providing for our families. And so there was this one customer who has been with me since the beginning, since I was part-time in 2015. And I was really hemming and hawing. I hated to have to let them go, but they were in this neighborhood and I didn't want to do it anymore. And I wrote out this emotional email that I was so sad to be leaving. And you guys mean so much to me. Thank you for helping me provide for my family. And that email was 2 weeks ago, and I never heard a thing from them.
How about you, Tino? Have you ever cut anybody out because they haven't been profitable account for you?
Yeah. Well, I've done a couple that weren't profitable. I've done a lot of the guys that want to come out and walk with me and point out every single thing that's in their yard. I did a lot of that cutting. I mean, it's just wasted time. That's all it was. And I mean, in my business where I'm mostly mowing, also time is money. I mean, you give them kind of the conversation, you kind of listen to them for a while, but I mean, every time you go there, it's supposed to be a 20-minute in and out, and you're there for an hour chit-chatting, and you could have did 3 yards in that time. Yeah. So I've cut out a lot of those customers. As far as low-paying customers and stuff like that, I probably kept 10 of my original customers, saying, like Randy was saying, the $30 ones, the ones that you first got your foot in the door with. But for the most part, yeah, I'm trying to keep time down and money up. So
yeah, I think it's really important at the start of a season to take stock. The way that you take stock of your inventory, do you have enough oil? Do you what is it that you have? What do you need to get in order to be ready for the season? I think that's why we started this series with getting your back end organized. I think it's really important to take stock of your business. Where are you profitable and where are you not profitable? And where you haven't been profitable, make some decisions. You know what I mean? I saw Bedell in here say, I give him the opportunity to charge it, pay more or you're gone. I'm not going to take you on, right? And my business partner has a famous saying that says, price to indifference. If you got a client that you're really not happy with, and just keep raising the price, you're happy with them. Even if they're a pain in the ass customer, you'll be happy with them if they're paying double, if they really want you. And if they're not, then move on, right? So take stock. So if you're going to have a profitable 2021, you need to cut what wasn't profitable in 2020. You know what I mean? Or change it, fix it, price, charge those people more, something.
I totally agree with that. I think, in this business, I think in other businesses as well, too, it kind of correlates. You have to kind of learn to say no sometimes in this business. I know a few years ago, actually, maybe it was, I think it was 2019, my first year that I started. And Josh knows this because I asked him on Echo Means Business. It was the very first time I had a customer who was not paying me. And it was an elderly lady. She's like probably like 80 something years old. And she had a financial person take care of her finances. So I was kind of sending my bills to her and I wasn't getting any responses. Now I felt bad on a personal level because it was an older lady and she wasn't really the one that was kind of managing the money. So now I'm in a little predicament whether or not do I continue doing the lawn. I feel bad. I don't want the lawn to overgrow. So look, fortunately we squared it away. But, in those instances, you still have to think at the end of the day, this is a business for you. This is your livelihood. This is where your money's coming in. And you can't really waste a lot of time with stuff like that. There's a right way and a wrong way of doing things. Again, luckily, it was squared away. But, thanks to Jay, he gave me some advice on the Echo Means Business app. So I learned a lot from that.
I love hearing that. This should be one of our challenges, actually, Emily. If you're still listening on the Echo Means Business app, we do those weekly challenges to the members. Do you cut customers? How many customers have you cut this year? That'd be kind of interesting. Yeah. So let's move on to the next one. I want to just keep an eye on the time here. Let's go back to the comment of at what point do you decide that you need automation? If this is typically when you're going to want to do it. If you're going to put in, whatever software, if you're going to be using Jobber or whomever you're using, this is the best time to do it while you can get yourself trained, set up, get all your customers, and to do it halfway through a season when, you know, you're up to here with your schedule and, you know, the weather issues and the delays and the rain and all the kind of crazy stuff you got to deal with in the middle of a season. That's not when you want to be investing in software. Now is the time you want to be focusing on it. But at what point does a business say, I just can't take this? Is there a magic number? I know somebody said at 100 he moved to Jobber. What do you guys think?
I'll jump in. I'll say around 100K would be a safe number to say. I'd also say if you're sloppy and you're, you know, unorganized, then you know, that was me my second year. I was still going through, and I don't know, like at the end of the year, I think I would find invoices like in the pit of doom in my truck, you know, and they added up to a couple grand, but I mean, it's $2,000, you know, and I think from the get-go, regardless of what your numbers are, year two, some sort of accounting software like QuickBooks is essential for you to have. It, you know, you don't have to necessarily jump into a CRM if you know how to use a spreadsheet. I know it's kind of old school, but just something to keep your accounts receivable and accounts payable level and organized, you know. And I would definitely link up with a bookkeeper or an accountant. The reason I say that is, again, from experiences, my first year of business, my first 2 years of business, I ran as a sole proprietor, didn't know the tax laws, lost a lot of my profit by paying, you know, 15.3 mass state tax. I got rolled. I've been the liability now by having a bookkeeper and a CPA take care of that for me. So if there's an issue, I'm not necessarily fully responsible for it. So to answer the question, though, I'd say around 100K, or if you're disorganized, as soon as you start making decent money, you know, which could be, you know, for mowing lawns, 30, 40, 50K to start.
Yeah, I think you really need to jump into the highest level of software you can as soon as you can, and before you need it. I think I've mentioned probably like 7 times, but I use Service Autopilot, and you know, it's not meant for somebody that's my size, but it absolutely automates everything. Where like I just need to know the acreage of a property, because you can even automate the estimating. So as long like it's so dialed in that at this point I just need to take a look at your property, find out the square footage of it, and then I can just type it into Service Autopilot and the price is generated automatically, which makes it very easy to expand, you know, as the time comes. I had a situation last year where I needed some help just for like a week or two with the bookkeeping, and it literally took me 30 minutes to train a family friend to handle all the bookkeeping for me, and even to do all my estimating for me, because literally she just needed to know the address of the property, and then all the information she needed was right there. So I think especially because I'm the sloppy guy that you were talking about and the very disorganized guy. And so I think way before you think you need it is when you should start investing in the software in the back end. It just makes your life so much easier.
You got a question there, Randy. How much is the Service Autopilot? Is there a like standard pricing, or is it variable?
It's as much as you want it to be. So I believe they've actually raised the prices a couple of times here recently. So I have the middle tier. So I don't pay for the cheapest option, but I also not paying for the most expensive option. And then I have what's called the client portal, which actually allows my customers to log in, update their payment information, see past invoices, all that fun stuff. And so I pay $125 a month, but it's getting ready to go up to $150 a month next month, which I feel like is an outrageous amount of money. That is like I kind of throw up in my mouth a little bit every time I have to pay it. But it, you know, just the little example of things that it automates is invoicing used to take me 8 hours a month. Now it literally takes me 10 seconds if the system's running slow. You know, it's just worth it.
Yeah, but you know what though? I don't really think it. Like, I know you yourself have said you're the cheapest man on the planet, so that's probably why. But when you think about what $150 saves you in terms of your time, you know what I mean? Like, how many hours will you're going to have to go either regrouping receipts and invoices or quotes, all the stuff that it does for you. Your time, too many pros don't understand their value, the value of their time. Every minute that they, or every hour that they spend on that stuff manually is time that they're not earning dollars in the field. All right. So it's you really got to look at that when you're looking at what your pricing is and what your bottom line is.
Yeah. And it really will bail you out of jams too. I've had not several, but enough situations for it to matter, where a customer will say, hey, I don't think you showed up to my property today. But because of the auditing feature that's available in Service Autopilot, I can literally send them a thing saying, oh no, we clocked in at 8:42, left at 9:03. Here's the before and after pictures we took that are time stamped. And here's some GPS, whatever that stuff is that goes along with that. It's just like, instead of having that, yes, I was, no, you weren't, yes, I was. Instead of that, it's just, here's all this data I dare you to argue with,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that'll be my challenge before we move on to the next point. That's my challenge to everybody, is understand how much do you make in an hour when you're on the field. I know I used to fight with my wife all the time when I wouldn't, just as a stupid example, when I wouldn't repair something in the house. You know what I mean? If I had a crack in the wall, I wouldn't plaster it and then paint it myself. I know how to do it. I can change, a light switch. I can move a light from one area of the room to another. I can do plumbing. But then when I looked at what do I earn at work, if I were to take that hour or that 3 hours that it takes me to do that, and I went to my job, how much would I earn on my job? And it's almost always more than what I was getting paid, or what I would have to pay somebody else to do it. So it nets out profitably. So for those of you listening, that's the advice, right? How much do you earn on an hourly basis? And then is that time worth it, to give up that hour earnings to do an hour or 2 hours of paperwork that you probably don't even enjoy anyway, right? So JC, let's move on to you. What's your strategy? What's your tip for getting your back-end processes straightened out before the start of the season?
Yeah, definitely learn from the year before. I think we all learn from our biggest mistakes or what we could improve upon going into the next year. One of the key things that I think is really beneficial is, number one, just setting a goal for yourself. And it doesn't have to be a large goal. It could be just small, obtainable goals. And once you accomplish those, it's easier to kind of move forward to doing the next best thing that you want to do. And make it winnable goals so that you have that confidence going into doing something, maybe learning a new skill or adding a new service to your business. Once you accomplish that, then you're giving yourself some type of natural motivation to continue forward in doing that. When I first started, I'm sure a lot of people started as well too. I was pencil and paper, right? I was kind of writing things down. I didn't really know what I was doing, but also too, take risks, but take educated risks. Don't just, think about it. First of all, think about what you want to do, and then don't be afraid, because sometimes having that anxiety to actually attempt to do something will kind of hold you back even more. And then staying organized, I think, as far as software, starting out, I mean, that's the perspective that I could speak on, because, I do it on a part-time basis, and, I'm fairly new doing it myself and learning as I go along, is, just to make sure you have something that you could afford at the time, right? So as far as software, like I still use Yardbook, and Yardbook is a free software. I know that they have a paid version as well too. There was a time that I was kind of thinking about maybe using a service like Jobber, and I really decided that what I do right now, Jobber is too much for me. For cost, whether it's cost effective or not for me, but right now with what I'm doing, I'll stick with what I have until I progress and then move forward. You could always change. You could always kind of advance yourself. You could always upgrade to different stuff. But this is the type of business that's very easy to get into. You don't need much to start. Just get some equipment and start working. So simplicity, don't feel you have to jump in too deep into the water and feel you have to accomplish a lot in 1 year. Make your mistakes, embrace your mistakes, and kind of just pick up the pieces next year.
We had a question in there that I think we should maybe do a little bit of a roundup on, and that's coding software. There's been some questions in here or comments about that. So do you guys, I know a few of you have mentioned this already, but let's maybe spend a little bit of time on this. this is the time of year, again, to get yourself set up, because now is when you're doing a lot of your quotes, right? A lot of people are signing contracts for the year now. You know, so I'll start with you, Tino. How do you do it when people call for an estimate? Are you still going out on, in the field and measuring, seeing the property, taking photos? Are you using Google Maps? Or how do you do it?
Right now, pretty much the areas I'm focusing on are new neighborhoods here in the Brownfields, Texas. And so they're all pretty much the same size, other than a regular lot and a corner lot, or a lot in a cul-de-sac, or main things like just strange backyards or whatever. So mostly when I first started, I wouldn't measure them out, and so I knew what they are as far as square footage. But now I kind of am at the point where I could just look at it and say, okay, this is a $50 yard, and this is a $65 yard. This one has more trimming, this one doesn't. Kind of adjust prices like that. I have, going back to the original, getting your back end straight. Budgeting is a big thing for us this year, as far as we're still growing, and we're trying to double every year to get more clients and more equipment and stuff like that. And so with that in mind, we've been using, or we started to use LMN software and all that. I mean, it does, like Randy was saying, with Service Autopilot. It does budgeting, it does quoting, estimates, all that, just on templates. So you just punch in the information and it'll work up an estimate like that. So we're just starting to use it, and like Randy said, it's $200 a month. And so that goes back to budgeting. I mean, can you budget in $200 a month? I mean, if you can't, there is a free version. Like, there's free versions of a lot of these software that's out there now. But that's a big thing with me, because my wife is really into budgeting and I'm not. If I got it, I'm gonna spend it. And so she's kind of taken over that whole part. And so it's working better like that. But yeah, as far as quoting, we kind of go off of that original, small yard, and then kind of expand it from there as far as what the next yard is.
Right. How about you, Randy?
So for quoting, I have like certain benchmarks that I like to have for myself. So I prefer for a customer to have a price within 45 seconds of making contact with me. So if somebody calls me, the first thing I'm asking is, all right, what's your address? So I can then punch it into my phone. Because, I mean, even though I have a rate matrix that I use, I've got it memorized. So I know how it works. And so if they tell me their address, and so within 45 seconds, I can say, oh, yeah, that's a $35 cut, and you're on Wednesdays. So as soon as they've heard from me, they already know their price, and they already know what day they're going to be. And so as far as like quoting, like somebody actually mentioned in the comments that they use Ilon. Like I basically use like the free version of Ilon, which involves a couple of websites instead of just using Ilon. So, I'm able to find, for quoting, I'm able to find a property size using either, Zillow or findlotsize.com or land records in my area. And then, just punch that into the rate matrix that spits out a number. The customer gives me their email address and, all that fun stuff. And I get usually I want them to have the price within 45 seconds. And then I want them to have the actual quote within 5 minutes of making first contact. If they contact via email, then it's even faster. It's like 2.5 minutes. So that way, before they even have a chance to call someone else, they're already signed up with us, basically. And we handle all that within Service Autopilot. Service Autopilot's got a app that honestly looks like it was made for like Windows 98 computers or something. But, it has all the functionality in there. And so we can just do it right on, pull over to the side of the road, because you would never do this while you were driving, and just put it all in there and send it off as quickly as you can.
Josh, you do a lot of hardscaping, so it's got to be a lot different for you when it comes to when it comes to the I guess estimates and pricing just from standard lawn care, mowing, and fertilizer. What do you use?
So we do vet or qualify the customers when they first call. The one tip I'll give everybody right now is before we get into any talk about money or square footage, we try to get as much information, personal information off them, name, telephone number, email address, so that later on we do have some marketing input to go with this. So if we're ever going to offer a special or something like that, or a different service, we build our email database off that. But when they initially call, we give them an idea of the value that we're going to put forth into the job. We get an idea of what their budgets are, what their expectations are, and we will use Google Earth as a generalization, just as a generalization, because everybody knows whether you're mowing, putting in pavers or wall, site conditions vary from state to state, from town to town. You might have one town that has a high water table and one town that's just straight sand or clay. So we're able to put a general ballpark together for a customer, but sight unseen, we don't sign any contracts for maintenance, lawn maintenance, mowing, or hardscaping. We have to go out there. But if someone calls up, we have our baseline minimums for mowing. We have baseline minimum for everything, and we give them an idea. Like, we're not the cheapest in town. This is what you get. Would you like to move forward?
Yeah, I want to actually use that as a plug for the next two sessions. Well, I guess in 2 weeks, we're going to be doing Know Your Worth. And, you just mentioned know your baseline. What's the minimum that I have to make to just get up in the morning, right? And to get out there. So I think that's really important. And a lot of businesses don't understand. They'll look at what their competitors are charging, or they'll look at what they think they can get, what they think they're worth, but know what you're worth. And I think that's going to be really important to know what that number is. So we're going to be talking about that in not this coming Thursday, the one after that.
And these are luxury services, guys. So, I know we're going back and we're talking about feeling bad for customers. These are like mowing your, like, I grew up in a triple decker in Boston, and having someone mow your lawn, I would have got smacked across the head if I asked for a lawn care company to mow the lawn. So this is a luxury. So don't feel about what you're bad about what you're charging, what you need to make a living. At the end of the day, it's you, it's your family, it's your retirement, it's your investment, it's your time, and it's your body.
Yeah, 100%. Know your worth. You're valuable. So let's. I want to talk a little bit about marketing. We've got a whole session on marketing, as in the spring next week, and all the things you should be doing. EDDM, Google advertising, door hangers, postcards, whatever. But now, there's a couple of comments in here in the stream that I thought maybe we can talk about, and that's getting yourself ready now. So setting up the processes. I wanted to talk about social proof. I run a marketing company, so that's, my area of expertise. One of the things we always do is we say at the beginning of the season, or at the beginning of a project in my case, because I don't necessarily have seasons. Okay, what are our goals this year? And then I say, okay, at what point did I schedule it? At what point am I going to ask for a testimonial? In your case, it's like, when am I going to take a before and after? Or always have a camera. Do you invest in a good camera now, or do you use your phone? And set it up as part of your checklist. Did I do this? Did I do this? Did I take a photo? Because, there's some questions about before and after photos here, things like that. Do any of you guys plan this type of, data collection for your marketing purposes?
So it's a little convenient for me, and I'm going to bring up, I don't know if it's a drinking game going on, I'm going to bring up service autopilot again. But whenever I clock into a job, I can't actually start the clock until I've taken the before picture. And then I can't clock out and charge the card until I've taken an after picture. So I always have this treasure trove. Well, sometimes it's just a picture of like the inside of my truck if I forgot, but there's just this treasure trove of thousands of before and after pictures every year that are just stored in the cloud, so I can pull them up at any time. That's what I do.
How about the rest of you guys?
Well, we plan every year for the before and afters, and we're horrible with it. We're 100% horrible. So this is going to be the first year we're actually hired a photographer to come out, and they get the RO of when they're coming out and when to come back to actually take the photos. But we have every year we have a set budget of what we're going to set aside, whether it's a lead generation table, word of mouth, sponsoring baseball team, yard signs. We put a collective budget together, and we spend it where the money is. So each year we same thing with the customer base, we knock a few off. Same thing with the marketing, we'll knock a few out, and we'll go where the money has served us in the past.
Yeah, I take every opportunity I can, probably just out of personal enjoyment, to take before and after photos. Having pride in your work is always something good, I think. I have also had a lot of customers who are away for a little while, And I'll, I want to inform them that I'm doing their property at that time, which I'll send a picture either before or after. I'll send them both photos afterwards. Say, listen, I showed up to your property, took care of you long. Just have that, they have that peace of mind and knowing that while they're away, and they want this. This is stuff that I've actually talked to them before and asked if it's okay while you're away or on vacation, if you'd like me to give you updates on your property, and they embrace it. So that's something that I like to do with my properties.
Yeah, I always do after pictures. I haven't been doing a lot of befores unless we're doing like landscapes, mulch jobs, tree trimming, stuff like that. But we definitely get after pictures, especially we have a lot of customers that are away at work or out of town or just come to Texas for vacation and just have a house here. And so we always send the after picture to especially those that aren't home. And put the phone. So can't afford a photographer yet. Maybe one day.
Important to talk about, I think, guys, is when you, if you're going to be taking pictures of your properties and you're going to be using them for advertising or for social media posts, as part of your contracts that you sign at the beginning of the year, it's worthwhile to put that disclaimer in those agreements to say that, we may use a photograph. We will take, photographs of our work and share on our social media channels. You never know if there's, their dog is out there, there's somebody in the window that ends up being there. It's good to have that sort of sign off. So it's another thing, again, getting your back end straight at the beginning of a season. Think about adding that if you're going to start doing that. It's important to cover yourself from all of that potential legal issues. If somebody says, hey, I didn't give you permission to post a picture of my house.
That's really true. I had a situation where I had an amazing before and after picture that was going on all my ads. And that customer, I hadn't really thought about it, but we ended on bad terms. And so it was like 2 years later, they contacted me like, hey, why is my house all over your ads? I'm very sorry. I'll take that down immediately.
All right, guys, let's any other pieces of advice that you wanted to get out to the audience today and hadn't had a chance? Mike just posted one. Contracts. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Do you,
I would, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I would second that on the contracts. I mean, we don't even call them contracts. We actually just call them service agreements because folks do get weird about signing contracts. But I always let folks know, like, look, this is just an agreement between you and I that says what I expect from you and what you should expect from me and giving me permission to be on your property. It's all it is. It's not, I'm not locking you into anything because you don't want to end. I know of people that have gone on a property after they've talked to a customer and then the customer says, I never gave you permission to be here. I'm not paying for this. And so it protects them. It protects me from that. And it also protects them because it says right in there that I have insurance. If something's damaged, I'll fix it. All that fun stuff. I mean, contracts to me, I won't go on a property without one. Absolutely not.
Yeah, especially when you consider the liability. I just got a dog, a puppy. I don't have it yet, but I just signed the contract today to get this puppy, and it was like 14 pages. And I go, geez, if for me to just take a puppy off of someone's hand is going to take 14 pages where there's like no liability, you guys are getting out there on someone's property. There is going to be a lot of liability. You never know what's going to happen. Get those contracts. How do you vet it? So if you don't know anything about contracts, if you're not using a software, and even if you are using a software that maybe has those agreements in place that you can print off, where do you go or who do you ask to say, hey, is everything covered? Am I missing anything?
There's a good way and a shady way to do that. So the good way is you can ask somebody, which is what I did. There was a local company and I asked if I could take a look at his and, just tailor it to myself. And he was mentoring me and he said, yeah, that's fine. The shady way is you could sign up for lawn service with somebody else and just, read what they got and copy that.
Oh, that's nuts. You know what? We should, if anybody out there, okay, so everybody that's listening or watching this, because this will be recorded for others to watch later. If you're listening now or watching later, and you want to share a standard contract or a standard agreement or whatever you're using with our audience, we're going to be launching a pro, what are we calling it, Angel? I already forgot now, a pro resources section on Echo Means Business, where we're going to be putting a lot of these types of templates out there for you. So if anybody wants to share, send it our way. Get a hold of one of myself or one of the guys here, and we'll get it out to you.
I think to avoid any shady works, just sign up to Echo Means Business and ask one of the many professionals out there. I'm sure a lot of people on that website will be willing to help out with any contracts or anything else for that matter.
I'll chime in real quick. So for always the way to do it is just to piggyback off someone else's. If you're looking for a legal, completely liability proof way to do it, a business attorney will probably cost you about $400 to $500 an hour. To write up a lawn care or a hardscape contract, it'll probably take them 15 minutes. My thing, what I did is I called up and said, hey, I needed a few things written up, worded the correct way. I also brought in a bunch of other stuff without saying anything to kind of sneak it in there to cover that hour. So when you're talking about, what you can charge for interest on your mowing accounts, your liability, your agreements, your contracts, your employee handbooks, get all that done for that $400 in the hour. There's a lot of value in that $400. It's not like spending $29 a month for a CRM you might not use. That $400 the value you get from that 400 will carry you for probably years to come for what you get, and it's written by an attorney.
Right, it's a good point. So guys, I want to I think JC mentioned it, and I want to mention it again just to wrap up here. So first of all, thanks to everybody who listened, but obviously thanks to our panelists tonight. For those of you listening, the reason we did this is these are all the first 4 of these sessions we're doing are specifically with our UAG members. As we move forward, we're going to be opening this up to all the pros who want to join us on screen and share their experience. This conversation started in a crazy group chat that we have. It started off with something stupid like who's having tacos today, and it ended up into a conversation about how do you plan your business or how do you market your business. And we said we got to get this out and we have to share this information. So these are the types of conversations that happen on the forum in Echo Means Business, and the types of back and forth that we see all the time on our Echo Means Business app. So if you don't like to navigate the communities on the website, you can download the EMB app, which is available on iTunes or Google Play. Find it, connect with these guys, JC, Randy, Josh, Tino. You'll find everybody's incredibly responsive, just the way they are here and sharing their expertise. We have a 30-member UAG, as well as 20,000 other registered members that will be happy to share their advice and their ideas. So stay tuned next Thursday. Join us again, same bat time, same bat channel, different set of people. We're going to be talking about marketing your business in the spring to have the best success in 2020. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate it. Have a good night, all. Be safe out there.
See y'all later.